Hello and welcome to the Rich and Simple Living. My name's Maria. If you're new here, I vlog mainly about homeschooling, a little bit of urban homesteading and home life, which is normally cooking. Today is going to be just that. We're going to do some cooking. Usually it's in the air fryer, and we are doing some in the air fryer today, but I'm splitting it today. I'm going to use some for my oven and some in my air fryer. What we're going to be doing is fruit pasties. Now, if anybody watched the last air fryer one I did, I had this bright idea, we can make Cornish pasties in the air fryer, which I'm going to have a go at on one of these occasions. But I still thought I've got all this fruit in the freezer, so I'm going to do some fruit pasties. So what we're going to do some apple and raspberry. We're going to do some raspberry on its own. And I thought we could do some apple and sultana with a little bit of cinnamon in, and we'll see how it all works out. So because I'm doing so many, I know I'm not going to be able to fit them all in my air fryer in one go, and I don't want to make numerous cooking sessions in the air fryer, because that'll take quite a while and they'll end up using more money, so it won't be very cost saving for me. So I thought if I put some in the oven at the same time, because I can do a mass amount in there, and we'll just put the one batch into the air fryer that we can fit in there, so we can see what they come out like. So then we can have a bit of like a oven versus air fryer type thing anyway, can't we? And it gets it all done at the same time. So I've already done my pastry, because as those of you who've watched me before will know, I batch bake pastry. I make a load of it in one go and deep freeze it. So I'm using up the last of what I've got in deep freeze, and then I've got to go and batch make a fresh load then. So we're going to use that today. So it's a basic short crust pastry. I'm going to bring you down so you can see what I'm doing rather than look at me. So I'm going to put a bit of flour down on here so I can roll out. I have 2 bags of pastry left, so we'll use them both up. So that's what to do when I batch bake them. I make a load at a time, and then wrap it into grease-free paper, put it into a freezer bag and drop them into deep freeze, and they're perfect. I've had this probably in there quite a while, about a year maybe. I'm not sure how long it's supposed to last in there, but I just leave them in until I use them, and I've never had no problems or anything going off, so I'm not too worried. Now, if you want to, if you like a sweet dessert, I'm putting plain flour down on here to roll out on so it doesn't stick, but you could use icing sugar, but then it would be quite sweet, so you'd have to have a really sweet tooth, and you know, I probably wouldn't advise using lots of sugary things, but some people do. You could if you wanted to. Now, if I get a saucer, one that's not too big but big enough so that if you think like half of it, because you're folding half over, so you've got a decent sized pasty. What I'm going to do is press it on there, and we'll just cut around it. Big one. We might get another, I don't know, if we just roll it a little bit more, but then we don't want it too thin, because we don't want all of the fruit juice and that going everywhere. Likely will anyway with raspberries, because that's quite a juicy thing to cook with. So we'll get 2 out of there. See if we can take this away, because we can re-roll this then to make some more. So I think what we'll do, if I do the 2 for the air fryer, I don't think I'll fit more than 2 in there. So if I do 2 for in there first, and then I can just do a tray of them then to go into the oven. So if I do these 2 first, so what I might do, just reach behind you. I'd have to watch these are quite wet. These are the apples. I freeze my apples, but I'm going to have to do this over the sink because it's very messy. these are apples off my own tree, which have been frozen. Now, let me bring you down. Don't worry about the colour of them. I've said this before about the colour. They do go brown. It's not poisonous. It's perfectly fine. So we'll pop some apple in there. There's a little bit of frost on, but I'm not going to worry about that either because it's never been a problem. Leaving room around the edge so that you can wet it and bring your top over to seal it. So I'm going to pop a few sultanas in with this one. Just put a few in, we don't want too many. They stick together, that's the only thing. Just pop a few in there. And what we're going to do, I'm not putting sugar in because I use eating apples. I don't cook with cooking apples, I always cook with eating apples, so I don't have to put sugar in. I'm going to get a bit of cinnamon. I love cinnamon, and we're just going to sprinkle it over. Oh, it's over sprinkled, but never mind, good, you do love it. And then pop my tap on so I can get some water. I'm going to just wet the edges. I think this one's going to taste mainly of cinnamon. I'll be better off getting a pinch out of it. Oh, it smells beautiful. So bring it over and we'll just press down on the edges to seal them. We just hope that they don't pop undone in the air fryer. We'll leave that there a minute and we'll do another one. So can you still see up this far? So I've got you perched in my sink. I'm not quite sure where the span is. Normally I'm in my shed cooking, but because this is quite messy and I've got things draining, like I've got the raspberries draining and I'm going to use the cooker, I thought we'll start off in here, then the ones that are going to the air fryer we'll take out. So we'll do a little bit of apple, not quite as much this time. And we're going to take a few raspberries. Now, I've got them draining there. So, we'll just pick a few out. Pop them back over the drainer, actually. These have been in the freezer as well. These are our own raspberries. I don't want to fill them too full, because it might burst open. Knowing my luck, it probably will burst open. So we'll wet the edge again. Bring it over. Probably have got quite a lot of filling, especially this as the raspberry juice is already coming out. You could drain raspberries all day long and they'd still be very juicy. So we'll leave that like that. We'll go and pop these into the air fryer. We'll see if that does fill it. Probably will. So there we've got those two in the air fryer basket. As you can see, I wouldn't fit any more in there. I've lined it and that should be okay now. So I'm going to put that on the side and I'm going to get on with doing the other ones that are going in the oven. So I'll do them. You don't need to watch me do them because you've seen me do these, so you've got the idea. But I'll do them and then I'll come back to you when they're ready to go into the oven. Okay, I've done them all. We have managed to get 5 on here. And they're a bit of a mix. You can see me if I look down. They're a bit of a mix. Well, 2 of them are plain raspberry because my eldest daughter, she's allergic to apple. And so I've done 2 plain raspberry ones for her. Some are apple and raspberry, and I think I've got an apple on its own and another apple and cinnamon. So I'm just going to pop some holes in these and then we're going to pop them into the oven. So we'll just jab them a bit. I do expect it to run everywhere, especially the raspberry. I mean, as you can see with the raspberry, it's already starting to run in places. very juicy, so I do expect them to run. So it looks tidy at the moment. It's probably going to look a mess when it comes out. Pink gooey mess. But anyway, I'm going to pop these into the oven. These are going in on gas mark 5 and 20 minutes roughly on gas mark 5. So while these are cooking, we're going to pop into the shed and we're going to go to the air fryer and we're going to do the other two and we'll see what they're like. Not the best day to be coming out here today. I'm wet. It's absolutely pouring down with rain. So I got wet. Wasn't too bad when I came out the door, but as I got up to the backyard and came through the gate, it was like, so yeah. Anyway, we brought these two in. We're going to put them into the air fryer. I'm glad it's nice and warm and dry in here. So turn it down so you can see. So like I said, there's those two in there. Put them in here. Switch it on. Going to air fry it at 160. And I'm going to do it, well, it says for 16 minutes, but you know I'm going to do it for the 20, same as I have with the oven. And off it goes. The reason I'm doing it is the same as the oven is because I found last few times when I've cooked things, I've had to perhaps pop them on for a little bit longer or, you know, recommend that maybe a few minutes longer might have done them better. So this time I popped them on for the extra few minutes, extra 4 minutes. It's not going to make any big difference. It's not going to harm them if it does go over a bit. So that's them on. We'll come back to them in 20 minutes and we'll go back to the oven in 20 minutes and we'll put them together and see what they're like. I don't expect there to be too big a difference in taste wise or anything. I mean, I've only done it for convenience, but I think it'd be nice to know though, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to know if the texture's any different or whatnot. So anyway, we'll come back to that in 20 minutes and we'll have a look. Right, it's just beeped. We'll have a look and see what's happened. So we'll bring you down. Oh, not too bad actually for saying I thought it would run. There's a little bit of running, but nothing too much. Pastry looks cooked. What we'll do, we'll lift them off. Bring it down a little bit more. You'll have to excuse the shadow, it's the lighting in here. We'll lift them off and I'll pop them onto a plate. I'll show you better then when they're on the plate. The raspberry one's going to be a bit softer underneath. I can feel the pastry's a bit softer because obviously the juice, but it smells divine. It smells beautiful. Right, I'll bring you up and I can show you better. I'll lift the plate. There we have them. Pastry's a nice golden colour. Like I say, this one has run a little bit. You can see there how it's run, but nothing major. The bottom probably will be a bit softer under it because of the juice, which is to be expected. But yeah, they've cooked really well. And I gave them the extra 4 minutes from the conversion times. I did it to the oven times, but I've just been into the oven, just had a look at the oven, and they weren't quite done. So they're having to have a few minutes extra as well. So I think to do them, we need to allow extra time for them in both the air fryer and the oven. So yeah, and the only thing I've left out of these, as you saw, was sugar. Obviously, you probably like to put sugar on. I do cook with eating apples, which I find is sweet enough, so I don't worry about that. But for any of the others who might eat them, well, my husband's not really a sugar person. He's more of a savoury person anyway, but he does like a fruit pie, but he won't add sugar because he likes it as it comes. But should any of the others eat it, and my other children, they might add a bit of sugar onto it. A nice thing to do with the apples is a nice bit of soft brown sugar sprinkled over it, and that's quite nice. If you could put cinnamon on, or leave the cinnamon, just put a bit of soft brown sugar. You put the sultanas in. It's so adaptable, you can put anything in. I was going to do some apple and blackberry ones, but my blackberry bush has only just started fruiting this year because it's a new bush. And I did get some off earlier, and I made some crumble with that. Say earlier, I mean like a month or so ago earlier, and I made some crumble. But there's not been enough in there to do anything else with. So it needs to establish a bit more. Next year now, I'll probably have more, and then we'll be able to do some apples and blackberries. I love apples and blackberries. They're my favourite combination. I do love them in pies or crumbles. So yeah, that's them. We'll go into the house now and we'll have a look to see if the others are done in the oven, and then we'll try them and see if there's any difference and have a taste test, see if they're okay. Okay, so I'm back in the house and they're done in the oven. I'll just swing you down so you can have a look at them. They've done quite nicely. Leave them on the tray a minute because they're cooling. But you can see nice golden brown colour. If you want to sprinkle a little bit of sugar over the top, or a little bit of icing sugar over the top, that's optional. Make sure that's on there. As you can see, this is one that had the raspberry on. It hasn't made too much mess. Do you know, I was really expecting the tray to be covered in juice. I honestly was expecting that. And it's not. It's done really well. They seem to have stayed inside the pies, and just a little bit, which, you know, you do expect some, but I did certainly expect a lot more. Do you know, I'm wet. I'm wet through running between the shed and here. But yeah, so looks wise, they look the same. Neither of them have made a huge mess. I don't know if you can see that or not. Might have been better swinging you down, but I have shown you them anyway, just so. Yeah, there's no difference. Now, like I say, they look a bit plain on top, a little bit dry looking on top. Some people might brush the tops of the pastry with an egg mix, something. I don't really do that with fruit pies. In fact, I don't really do it much at all. But if I do, it's more with something savoury than I would something fruity. But a little dusting of icing sugar or something like that on top would be quite nice. And it makes it look nice as well. So the only thing now to do, they're really hot at the moment, I don't want to bite into hot pies, is to taste test it. I might cut one in half on a plate, and my husband is in the room, so he might taste test some as well. I think I might be able to get away with taste testing a bit because there's no sugar in it. And the reason I say that is because you've probably noticed the last couple I've not taste tested when it's been something sweet. It's because I've got to watch my sugars at the moment. They were a little bit high. I've not got diabetes or nothing, but it's like a pre-diabetic thing that if it was to keep being high and going over the mark, there's a mark 6.5 or something. If it was to go over that, then I'd be classed as diabetic, so I've got to keep below it. And I'm terrible for puddings and sweets, well, not sweets, but chocolate. And the doctor said to me when he was talking about it, he says, did you expect it to be quite high? I says, well, bordering, I know when it's going high. And he says, have you any idea what could be causing it? I said, chocolate. I just said the word chocolate. And he laughed, he said, that would do it. But yeah, so I've just got to cut back on the sugar a bit because I've got to obviously have another test to see if it's gone down. So I'm watching what I eat. So that's why I'm not taste testing it. I've not forgotten or anything to taste test it, but if there's somebody about, I'll get them to do it. If not, I'll just have to leave it and let you know. Like the Countess pudding last week, my husband ate that later on and he said it was really nice. It tasted beautiful. He really enjoyed it. I was a bit disappointed it hadn't rose as much as it had, but one of my subscribers said to go do the recipe because it was 333, and she said go 444, and it worked perfectly for her. So if you are going to do that Countess pudding, do the 444 because it sounds like it's the better one. But anyway, that was last week. I'm going to put one on a plate, cut one in half. I would like to try them both, taste test them both, but I don't think I'll push my luck. Even though there's no sugar in it, pastry can be a bit of a thing. You don't know what's in what these days. I know it's all homegrown fruit and everything, but fruit can push sugar up. But I might just taste a little bit of the apple one and we'll see what it's like. So the husband's just cut one in half for me. He's cut the raspberry one. I think this is raspberry and apple, I think. And as you can see, it's done nice inside. You can see quite well how it is. That'd be lovely with custard, lovely. So I think we're going to have to test the raspberry. I wanted to do the cinnamon one. You cut the wrong one. So we'll taste test this one now then. So I'm just going to try a little bit. I'm not going to put custard on or anything. I'm not going to go to town with it and get carried away with it because I end up eating it all. But I'll just try this. This one is out of the air fryer. It's an air fryer one. We perhaps will cut one of the oven ones in half, but I won't taste test that. I don't want to taste test too much of it. So we'll just take a little bit off. I'll just bring you down a little fraction so you can see what I'm doing. Going back a bit. So pastry looks like it's cooked lovely underneath. That's always the worry with me when I'm doing pastry, whether it's in the oven or in the air fryer. I always think, is it cooked all right underneath? But yeah, that's cooked nice, steaming hot. So I've got to be careful and get a bit of raspberry as well. So let's try it. Oh, wow. That's nice. That's really nice. The pastry just melts in your mouth. It's perfect tasting. Fruit's nice. The raspberries, sometimes you can get raspberries a bit bitter, but they're lovely. They're just nice. And you can taste the apple in there. Oh, that's beautiful. That really is nice. I better not eat too much of that because I'm not sure of the sugar content with the fruit. But just to taste the one, because I haven't added any extra sugar. But that's really nice. Could you just pass me another plate then? We'll cut one in half from the oven. I won't cut the raspberry ones because obviously I've just tried the raspberry. What did we do with the knife? Oh, you cut it with a spatula. So we'll get an apple one, shall we? I'm not sure which has got the cinnamon in. He's arguing with me for the cinnamon one. So let's bring you down. You can see you cut that one in half. Right. This has got apple in. I'm not sure, although we've used a spatula that would just cut raspberry, but never mind. See that? Look at that. Oh, look at that. I broke it. I think that might have some cinnamon in. I'm not sure. Do you want to try a piece and see? You try it. I'm not trying it now. If he's telling me to try it, he's good for my sugar, isn't he? But yeah, that's cooked nice. Oh yes, that's got the cinnamon in. Do you know, I might just try it. It's the cinnamon that swung it. But that's all I can do is just have a bit on a spoon. So again, that's cooked beautifully. And I can smell the cinnamon. Apart from being a bit hot. That's lovely. The pastry's so soft. That pastry is so soft. The apple melts in your mouth along with the pastry with a hint of cinnamon coming out of it. Oh, I've died and gone to heaven, I'm sure. I love cinnamon. I absolutely love cinnamon. And nutmeg. If you do egg custards, and I like nutmeg too, things like that. That's beautiful. So yeah, definitely do them. Fruit pasties. Two different kinds. As for taste-wise, from the air fryer and the oven, I can't tell a difference, to be honest with you. Both of them, that's the air fryer one, both of them the pastry melts in your mouth. Both of them the fruit is cooked beautifully because I didn't pre-cook it. I never pre-cook fruit like some people stew it. I never do that. I put fruit in as it is because it melts down in its own juices as it's cooking and it comes out much nicer and you don't lose no flavour. So yeah, they're both gorgeous, and I've done a mix as well. I think I did one with sultanas in. I think that was an air fry one, but I won't taste that. That's enough. So they're gorgeous and they'll be lovely with a bit of cream, bit of ice cream. I mean, have you ever tried ice cream that you put on, pop it in the microwave for a couple of seconds so it's half melted and half ice cream still, and add it with fruit pie, beautiful, or just custard, anything. I love it with all of it. Well, I did. He's beckoning for one now. Do you want that one? Because it's got the cinnamon in. You can have a bite of it and see what you think. Got to bite the middle though. He's biting the edge first. That's no good. Got to bite where the filling is. What do you think? He's putting a thumbs up because his mouth's full. So he likes fruit pies. Although he's more of a savoury person, he does like a good fruit pie. So yeah, that's definitely a success, whether you do them in the oven or the air fryer. They're both beautiful. They're both lovely. The air fryer was a bit quicker than the oven. Both of them took a bit longer than what the recipes said. Well, I sort of devised the recipe and went on pies. But yeah, I'll pop down below the recipes for them. And like I say, you can put any kind of fruit in them. It doesn't have to be, you know, apples, raspberries. Like I said, I'd like to put blackberries in, but next year when they grow again. So thank you for watching. And thank you for subscribing, all of you subscribers, from the new ones and the existing ones. We really appreciate you so much. I'm very grateful that you do watch us and subscribe. And even if you just watch and you don't subscribe, thank you for that anyway. So we'll see you now next time. Maybe later in the week, maybe at weekendish, because we've got something going on and it's a behind the scenes thing that normally sort of I've perhaps, well, I maybe I've filmed once, I don't know, over the years, but we've got something going on and I've got some cooking to do. Not that I'm going to show you the cooking because it's going to be hours and hours of cooking, but I will show you the results probably, what I'm doing. So if I get a chance, I will film some of that and you can see like a bit behind the scenes of family life and things like that. That'll be toward the end of the week or the very end of the week or the weekend. So yeah, until the next time, take care of yourselves. Bye.